I feel like it's time to learn something different. Something different from what you come from, came from, what you thought you should have been doing. Look, I split the deck, the Ace of Swords, and the Fool card. I feel like people deserve to know what it looks like to actually create something from a single thought and then watch it come into fruition. Your creative side, the Temperance. That's a balance of masculine, feminine energy. I also read it as a balance of making a name for yourself as well as mastering corporate America. For example, you could work for somebody and become the best that ever did it, or you can create your own jazz and be the best that ever did it. But you answered the call. You answered to, you were like, we could do this either way. This could even be a two-headed doctor. We can go about this the nice way, or we could get it on the street way. How do you want to do this? It's up to you. Depending on what you pull, what you inspire out of me. And I like to make a side note with that. It's not that people have control over your heart. They don't know how to push your buttons. But if you look at the street sign, it says stop. So a lot of nonsense doesn't make it past your front door. So you can go. I feel like you could have a lot of protection that slows down a lot of negativity that is meant to hinder you, because you have the walking sign and the hand sign, the stop sign. And on the bottom, you have the world. So that makes sense. But what I'm saying is, like, the world could be a global platform, universal success, where you had prejudice against you. You could have persevered through prejudice. A lot of prejudice, both professionally, amicably, certain social groups, they didn't want to accept you, or they didn't want you to know how great you are, or they felt like they had a hand, like a naysayer. They felt like they had a hand in what you created for yourself, what you can create for yourself. And a world is a completion. And then you have the Hermit. The Hermit is seeking inner wisdom. Something clicked for you a long time ago. Like, intuitively, it feels like children. So, child. And on the bottom is the Eight of Cups. If you look at the illustration of the Eight of Cups. I once read an article, side note. Children who grew up in the 70s still had a childhood. That's like the last of the Mohicans before everything hit. And if you think about it, by the time the late 70s and going into the 80s, crack hit a lot of lower income neighborhoods, even middle class ones. It hit everybody in a huge way. It impacted a lot of families. It broke down a lot of different families. Okay, and if you look at the Hermit card, he looks like a homeless man on a train. So some of you could have grew up in a big city, even if you grew up in the deeper country parts. Someone could not, like I heard, get the monkey off their back. So in a sense, it could have left you to be a child. You still had your childhood or whatever, but past a certain point, you stop having that adult supervision. So how did you persevere? How did you process that to persevere through it? You could also be someone who's overcoming a substance abuse concern or addiction of any kind, indolence. But you could have had to grow up a little bit fast because you had parents who had to answer to their own spiritual journey, even if it looked like they abandoned you. Let that sink in. They had to, like, when you have a spiritual journey, when you connect with your spiritual journey, like this Temperance card, you're led to do something. Nothing or nobody can stop you. And it has nothing to do with substance. Even if it shows up like that for certain people, you don't know why they're led to do it. It shapes your character at the end of the day. So how does somebody go from the Hermit? Is like somebody who had it all, if you think about it too, especially with the World card right here. Like the hermit is the emperor in reverse. That's somebody who was in charge. So you think about it. Take the example of someone who had to grow up fast. They start making money early. They had to become an adult, and they were on top. But they have unresolved issues. They had unresolved issues. So it kind of got in the way of the foundation, where they became a little emotionally dysregulated, and it puts them in the hermit mode to seek inner wisdom. Now, the hermit card is also a fasting card as well. So you could have been going from running the streets to to leading the community. You knew you were meant to be a leader or meant to be a somebody in some way or another. So it could have been like the rocky part in the phase of in the journey. Like it always starts off very humble beginnings. So I don't know if it's you going back to the neighborhood you grew up in, or when you went back to visit your family after years of not talking, you found that you had a mural on the side of the wall because they're watching you. So that's their way of saying, we see you, we appreciate you. But you didn't get that respect or that support until after you left. I feel like you could have been doing something for so long. You don't have the passion. The passion for it is kind of slipping through your fingers. You want fresh energy. You're in dire need of fresh energy, so you're seeking inner wisdom. You're refraining from it for 28 days, like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam refrained from his wives for 28 days when they were showing a lack of gratitude. So if you're being shown a lack of support, or you're constantly hearing kickback or complaints or negativity, you're changing the trajectory. Not so much quitting, but what you're doing is you're seeking inner wisdom as to who your target audience really is, because you shouldn't have a lot of kickback if this is what's right for you. I feel like you're taking it as a sign to go within. And then you got the Seven of Wands. You were not always received well, but this can also be defensive. You persevered through a lot of prejudice. Like nobody felt your pain or felt your story. But what it was is it wasn't authentically you. So when you went into that, when you started to go within and really sat with yourself, it's like, I can't talk about what I did in my adolescence at 25. I can't, no one will take you serious because it doesn't fit the tone of the conversation. Wheel of Fortune. That's going right under the Temperance, which is more Sagittarius energy. Seven of Wands. You don't have to be a Sagittarius, but a lot of this is a fire energy. The Wheel of Fortune is change of fate. Something shifted. It was a Friday the 13th type of experience. It feels wonky like that. Like you look at the Ferris wheel and the lightning. It's like it struck the Ferris wheel and it's like going into the Twilight Zone. Something shifted. You couldn't explain what you felt. And you just came out, you just alchemized into something completely different. And it's like, if you could explain it, people want to interview you now. And it doesn't have to be in a global sense. It's just people want to know, how did you do it? Because they don't feel like they know you very well. High Priestess. A deep or dark, it gives me dark energy. But likewise, that Hermit and that High Priestess are polar opposite. But they're both mutable energies. Water, earth, energy. It's like, how did you ground yourself in what you knew to be true? And I don't say dark like you're practicing the dark arts. It's like somebody who operates from their shadow side. Almost more than they operate from their lighter side. Not that they're going around causing harm. I don't mean it like that. But what I do mean is with the High Priestess, it's a primal instinct is what I'm getting at. Someone realize that it's better to be on the side of your primal instinct to be for you than to be against you, because I feel like you were cast out. There was defensive, there was prejudice, and your primal instinct kicked in, okay, and you made a defensive move or made an offensive move. It put, like, whatever you did that's different from where you came from, put people on defense about you. And then I like that you have 1, 2, 3, all major arcanas. The only thing that's here is the 7 of Wands. So 7s are about warnings. So people could have received signs and synchronicities or just mysterious nudges to let them know how to handle you, that you're mishandling you. I feel like people expected you to be this homeless man on a train or homeless woman on a train. Or they felt like your gifts wouldn't serve you justice. If they feel like, and here you are with a mural on the wall of a building behind the very thing they cast you out for, because it was more of like a mirror deflecting that they are deflecting their fear onto you. I mean, the people who put the negative energy out there, it could be spiritual bankruptcy with the Hermit in reverse. I mean, not the Hermit is not reverse. The Hermit in the upright is the Emperor in reverse. And it could be their lack of awareness, their stubbornness, their being a miser. It gives me miser energy too when you look at the surrounding cards. Because you kept going. It looked like she's walking upward. So whatever choices you made pushed you out of poverty or pushed you out of off that hamster wheel. Look, 10 of Pentacles on the bottom. Wealth. You don't have to pick one ring. You can buy them all. So now people could be questioning, why was I so afraid of what was different? They fear change. It's like you're teaching people a karmic lesson about how fear is a dream killer, not failing. Let me see something. What else? Like this. It's like you're in the land of milk and honey. Internally, externally. I feel like you don't have root, you don't resonate with where you came from. Spend time with animals, age of light, like you've been training for this for lifetimes. So you could have been born into spiritual wealth, or born into a family that's poverty stricken, and you're the generational curse breaker. That's what it's telling me. You could be 48, or that breaks down to a 12. But it can also break down to a 4. Like animals have a way of bonding with you no matter where you go. Because your light, like your aura is very like bright. You could have grew up believing that you're something, or made to believe like you're something dark and mysterious, and it has a negative connotation attached to it. Like it could have dampened, or someone meant to attack your self-esteem to hinder you because they saw your light and they didn't want you to see it, but you persevered through it anyway. And now they're in the hermit mode. I feel like this is a parental figure in hermit mode because they were irresponsible, because the emperor can represent a parental figure, a spouse. They put themselves in poverty looking at this homeless man on a train while you're sitting somewhere in luxury. It looks like she puts like flowers or something in her bath, but this is really, the water is purple because it's talking about the depths of her intuition. Like she knew something and didn't speak on it. Just like the people in the hermit, like they knew your power and didn't want to support you. You know what I mean? They didn't want to support you. They wanted to keep it for their own selfish gain. So that to be in the hermit mode is to be dysregulated in everyday life, out of balance. You're going to sink the whole empire type of thing. They end up losing everything. and you turned out on the other, you came out on the other side with the Wheel of Fortune here, while everybody was protesting. It could have been a whole community against you. This Hermit could have turned a lot of people against you, or could have like rallied up a lot of people to feel a prejudice or start a boycott against you, against your cause, against your purpose, only for you to do it anyway with the mural on the wall. And now the world, it's like God was with you the whole time, because the world says the universe. It's like he kept uplifting you. No matter you got knocked down 9 times, get up 10. Like how that's explained in the face of people who were boycotting you. You were unstoppable. You had a passion. They saw red when they saw you, and you had a passion to keep going. No matter who was against you, you didn't care that you was by yourself. You didn't have a fear of of the unknown. You didn't have a fear that you could potentially be attacked for it. If you know it, for best choice of words on YouTube, you know what I mean? Like you could be assassinated for it, or and where you wasn't assassinated, your character was assassinated. Share your voice. And that makes sense with the global platform. Is like God is giving me, come out of the cave, persecution, expression. People thought they could have buried you. But it's like, you see how she's in a cave? She's looking at the whole world, like people being celebrated or things happening, like all the life is across that water, right? So all she had to do was process where her spirit could have been broken, or whatever was groomed or like pushed off, deflected off on this person. You could have been going through this since you were a child, right? Because if you put this together, all the things that people said to make you feel like you weren't enough, and you had to you had to go deep, and you had to deal with that. You had to separate yourself, because you can't heal where you got stung type of energy. And you could have been cast out due to this hermit, this person in hermit. Now they're in hermit seeking inner wisdom about you, because they're trying to figure out what did they miss. So where they were celebrating each other or just making a family orientation with whether professional or business, you were sitting on the outside looking in. They felt like they had annihilated you, only for you to be sitting here. Like you dealt with what was in the shadows. Like you went deep. Like still waters are very dangerous, because you don't know what's underneath. No one knows what you've been through, so they can't judge. But they judged you, or they put you in a box. They try to compartmentalize you. And you think about that a lot. You reflect on it a lot. Now, as like a high priestess type of energy, is somebody who spends more time independent from people, but you have a way of connecting with animals. So animals could be like your best friend, or could have been your companion. Trust the niggle. A lot of this is black and white. Like you see the shadows, but then you see the aura. Okay, you see how you stick out like a sore thumb. And you see the type of people that were attacking you in the first place are in black and white, and your vibrancy, they saw that about you. But you're prepared for this. Like you were ready the whole time. What's the niggle feeling trying to tell you? That you're not meant to blend into the shadows. You're meant to speak out. You were going through these trials of through experience. It shapes your character at the end of the day. Like these cards look very similar. Okay, because you're not supposed to be in the shadows back there. You're supposed to be right here. This is your platform. You just have to cross the water to get it. So to cross the water, to me, is like 6 of Cups energy. It's like dealing with the nostalgia, the good, the bad, not having no regrets, the right, the wrongs, the indifferences, everything that uplifted you. You have an inner wisdom about it. You understand, even as it wasn't very scientific in how the message got across to you, but you still got the message. And you had to deal with emotional belligerence of it. And you still made it out on the other side because your guidance, your guidance was divinely guided. So even though you went through a storm, you're on the other side of that rainbow. You see how she's walking, and that's a reflection of that Eight of Cups. That Eight of Cups we saw. I don't know where it's at now, but you traveled a lot. And when I say traveled, like you went through, like you went deep within yourself. You can sit with yourself and not be afraid of what you see. You're not afraid to face your own shadows. And you can take the positive of all the lessons that you learned and leave off the toxic. And now you're walking that Eight of Cups turn into something real triumph for you. But you have to go through this winter void, or this dark, shadowy. It's a part of breaking a generational curse. I feel like that comes with the territory. You had to leave people behind, even as you may not have felt comfortable doing that, but you did. You called back your power by doing that. And you broke the chains, ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. You're responsible for how your canvas turned out. You design your own canvas. You write your own story, is what this is telling me. But it still didn't answer. It answers without answering. Or I should say, how can I say it? The people who want to know what the other side of that shadow, what the other side of the rainbow feels like, the answer of it is you have to process to persevere through all of this. The space they thought they put you in, like locking somebody in the attic. This is like flowers in the attic. All this potential, all this talent, all the beauty, the aura of you, to try to stomp that out is to really address what's lifeless or not watering your spiritual garden. The only way they can get to talk to you now, because you're unreachable, is to really cross the same water you crossed. But they have fear, or they're too defensive, or they're just blocked off from you. That where they were defensive and prejudiced against you is the same. They were basically designing their own sutra, which is like a big wall of a blockage, to stop them from getting to you. They stop themselves from getting to you. So they may never be able to sit down and have a conversation with you, like tea time. I see tea time, like tea and crumpets. They may never be able to sit down and have this interview with you because they can't reach you. You're unreachable. You made it to a space where you could relax. I feel like that was the intention. Like your intention was to escape this so you can process your emotions. So you're a person who can be very solid and very grounded and very focused to get the job done. And then you deal with your emotions once you reach a safe space. You have to create that safe space because it wasn't available wherever you were born into, or what the cards were dealt with. Whatever cards you were dealt, you changed the trajectory with the Wheel of Fortune and the Temperance. So you have a balance. That could be why it's like we could do it the nice way, or we could do it the street way, because you have you know how to protect yourself. You're guarded. You have that defense mechanism is at play. So they can't approach you because you could never get to the space where you got stung at. So I feel like this is more than just one person. It could be a ringleader, but I feel like it's more than one person. This person and their entourage, they don't qualify to be where you are, so they'll never know what that feels like. Because the very energy they put out against you is the energy they have to sit in. Because they decided to stay stagnant or to stay complacent where you broke the chain. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Until next time.